And today's show is about saying no in 2026, right?
That's true.
That's what today's show is about. So, all right, welcome to the latest episode of Game Day Glare. I'm Lance. I'm with my boy E. This is the podcast for sports videographers. How you doing, E?
Great. Yourself?
Yeah, pretty good. Things are, back in the swing of things. A lot of hockey games before the New Year's break, not New Year's break, before the Olympic break and that. So everything's kind of condensed together. So, we have these periods of 4 games in a week, then a week off, then 4 games in another week. And then boom, it's the Olympics. It'll be February before we know it.
Yeah, because especially with the Canadians, like there was a break because during Christmas it's what's it called, Disney on Ice, and then so you get like a break, but then after this gets crazy, especially with the Olympics, I assume.
It was hard to get back into to filming hockey again. I don't know. After you have that whole Christmas break and that, and then we had like the first week, like this week, all summer back into it. It's tough. My shoulder's a bit sore already after two games. But no. I mean, I'm happy to be back, and it's just kind of crazy that it's like, okay, boom, it's time to start all over again. Everything's back up and running. So that's why I kind of want to talk about it today is like being busy, a good thing, because as sports videographers, sometimes we get asked to film a lot of stuff. And sometimes, yes, you can. Sometimes, no, you can't. But when you're starting out, it's really hard to say no. So we kind of want to go over, is it worth it being busy all the time? Or do you kind of need some downtime? Or do you need kind of time to work on your own projects?
I like it. I'm down. I've got time.
For a long time when I was younger, I used to think being busy meant I was winning. Things are going great. I'm working on this. I'm working that. I'm working that. But then if you look at your bank account, you're like, I did all that work, but it really didn't add up. So, and that's part of it too. As you kind of, grow in your career, you learn how to charge. You learn how to kind of vet certain clients, and who to say yes to, who to say no to. I mean, there are times where I will do a project that isn't a high-paying project, but it's something that really interests me, or it can open up a door for something else. So I guess today we're going to talk about how to kind of maneuver through that as a videographer.
Yeah. No. I think I don't know where you want to start, but because I think like a sports videographer, and this probably applies to a lot of different fields and industries, but like there's different stages in your career. I think you just have to be aware and honest about which stage of your career you're in, and work accordingly. So I think at some stages it does make sense to work a lot, at others it doesn't. So
You need to redefine your success. Having a shoot, say 4 out of 7 days might be really fun. But then if you have to do all these edits after, and you have other clients in that, and if it's not well paying, then it might not be worth it. So you have to kind of choose what's going to work for you, and do projects that don't just burn you out. Because I have in the past done projects that, I had a fun time filming a project, and it went a couple days, and then I have a couple days editing. But sometimes the demands of it are so heavy that when you're done that project, you feel burnt and you don't feel creative anymore. And that's kind of the hurdle you want to get over, especially in the beginning stages of your sports videography career.
mm-hmm. Yeah, no, definitely. Well, I think like the beginning stages are always the most confusing, because you're new. You don't know how much you should charge. You don't know if you're being used, working too hard, not enough. Am I good enough to do this, to charge more, to whatever? So it's a very confusing time, obviously, but that's why I think you need to take it for like separate, like this is my learning, because people want everything right now. Like they want to learn, but they also want to make money, and they want to work on big projects, and they get annoyed real quick by the fact that they're only working with friends or family, or local sports, and they want to move up after like 2 months of doing like local football or something. But that's not how it works. Like you have to take that first stage for what it is. So like realistically, when you're starting, you're looking for experience and you're looking for a way to get better at your craft. So the more filming, the more editing you do, the better it is for the long run. Financially, probably doesn't make sense. Probably a lot of those gigs are free or not very well paid. But I think it's okay because it's part of the process. Like at that time, your focus is more on getting better, like I said, and getting your reps in. But once you do get better and you feel like because you're getting better, you're getting much more demand. Everybody wants you to film, and you can't do everything yourself, but you're not necessarily at a stage where you can hire people. That's when you need to be aware that now is time to make a shift where you're charging a bit more money, and that will get rid of some clients probably, but in the long run makes just as much money for less work. Because most likely when you're doing this throughout this whole process, you're either going to school or you have a day job. So it's not like you can dedicate all of a sudden like 40 hours a week to editing content that you filmed over the weekend. So you have to be smart about, because I always say, like, when people ask like how much should I charge, it's like you have to value your time. Like if you have a full-time job already and this is like a side gig, do you really want your side gig to basically take over all your free time? Like, because you're not going to be happy. Like the side gig that was a hobby to begin with is now going to become a nightmare, because every time you're not working, you're on the computer editing or you're filming, you never get any free time. So by charging more, you have less clients, but you have more time for yourself and you're probably making the same money. So yeah, it's just evaluating, in my opinion anyway, where you're at in your career and kind of gauging the workload accordingly.
Yeah, it's about being intentional, right? Finding projects that align with you, because when you go to do a project, it's going to take you some. It's going to take time. It's going to take energy, and then also in today's society, you got to figure out too: is this going to lead to long term growth? Like, can I grow from these projects? Can I meet new clients through these projects? Can I be tagged in these projects? Can I be seen in these projects? These are all part of the process of thinking about it. Because if you go on your Instagram, there are a lot of people that are like, "Oh, come do reels for me and that, and we'll tag you." But the tag ain't paying the bills. So you have to. Yes, there might be some people that are like, "Yes, it's worth having a tag or a little bit of a shout out." But if eventually you need to get money for that. And that's where the tricky part comes, is saying yes to what jobs and saying no to ones that maybe aren't worth your time and energy. Now, in the beginning, I'm very guilty of it. I used to say yes to everything. I used to try to help everybody out and that. But then once you start establishing your value and you kind of have like a tier, like, hi, this is my day rate, this is my retainer rate, this is for this project rate. You kind of know where you land. And sometimes when you do vet new clients, you realize like, oh, they can't afford my services anyway, because some people don't see the value.
Is financials the only reason why you would say no, basically?
No, no, I wouldn't say financials are the only reason, because I mean, I've done projects before where to help out people or to do stuff that, like, I did a reel for a kid who wanted to, a highlight video through a friend. They want to pay me. I'm like, no, I'll just help you out. Like, it's no problem. Yes, it took me like 4 or 5 hours of my time, but I'm trying to help somebody out and do a good thing. It's not always about that,
It's like
but
you and John Cena, kind of the same.
that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
But there are times where you have to put your foot down and you have to realize, like, listen, if I go and film, I don't know, a baseball tournament, let's say, or a hockey tournament, and I got 3, 4 games. Well, if I'm filming 4 hours of games and then I got to do highlight packages after that, my rule of thumb is for every minute of I film, I assume it's 2 minutes to edit it. Okay. That's just kind of how I gauge it. So I look at that project. If I'm filming one whole day, then I probably got 2 or 3 days of editing. That's kind of how I would kind of judge that. And you kind of got to figure out too. So when you're doing these projects, like how long is it really going to take you? Because sometimes some clients are like, "Oh, I hired you to film this." Okay, great. But I got to edit it now. And they forget about the editing part. They just think, well, no, the contract is the day of filming. So you have to kind of really lay down the law and kind of explain everything you're providing and why you're charging certain things. I'm not saying label it all out one by one in that, but for a project, I would give a value to the client right away and kind of explain that. And you have to know that ahead of time too, because there's going to be some projects that you're like, that's not really worth my time and energy. And it's really hard to get to that point, and it's really hard to say no.
Mm. So is there a situation where like a potential client would try to hire you, they'd be willing to pay your price, but you would say no? And if there is, why?
It's happened to me in the past, but it's a client that I've already worked with. Okay. So I did a job for them. We did everything, and then we parted ways after. And then they reached back out, say like 6 to 8 months later, want to do another job. And I said no. And the reason I said no is not everybody's easy to work with. And you kind of learn this as you go. And that's where it's kind of scary. I'll talk about it coming up after I have it in my notes about retainer projects where you're with someone for a while. But when you do your own stuff, you kind of get to vet people. And I've made mistakes where I work with clients that I was not happy working with, or they expected way too much, or their payment was super late, and I had to chase and chase and chase, but yet they wanted their stuff right away. These are all things that you learn. But the first thing now, I take it upon myself to communicate as much as possible. And even if there's a billing error, or a client pays late, I take it on myself right now like it's my fault. And I know that sounds silly, but if I don't lay down the law right away, or the communication right away, and explain payment is due a maximum 30 days after a thing, or I usually try to get paid partial in advance, because I find when you do have people paying in advance, they're way easier to work with because they've already committed. So I take it upon myself that all the communication, all the problems that I can have, I take it as if it's my fault. Now, it sounds like kind of strange, but as you keep doing this, you get better and better at it now. So now when I have a meeting with a client who reaches out, say out of the woodworks, who I haven't worked with before, well, I have all the terms and all the agreements and everything I expect from them also, because it's a two-way street. They expect stuff from me, but I expect stuff from them too. So you have to really communicate well. And in the past, when I've had problems with clients, when I look back at the whole process, I feel like maybe I could have communicated better. I could have made the situation a little better, because it is my company. It is me running it. They're coming to me. So I feel like if I provide all the information, then we should be okay. It still happens where it gets messed up sometimes, of course, but at least I know I covered everything. And I told them, like, listen, here's the bill, here's this, the delivery dates will be here, and make sure you meet your deadlines too. Like if I tell a client like your video will be ready on, I don't know, January 15th. Well, January 15th, they will have their video. No matter what's going on in my life or whatever, if I have to stay up till 3 in the morning and get it edited or work with someone else to get it done, January 15th, they will have their deadline. So I'm accountable to meet my deadlines, but I expect them to be accountable to meet theirs too. I don't know if I kind of answered your question or if I kind of went
Yeah,
around
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, like for me, like the main reasons why you wouldn't work with someone are pretty. There's not that many. Like I think it's either they're not willing to pay your quote. Um, they're either you're not available because you're already working, or this is a time that you picked for your holidays or whatever, or they're, like you said, not easy to work with. You've worked with them in the past and you're like never again, sort of thing. And with those clients, um yeah, because like when people sometimes don't understand like what we mean by that, like it's not like just I don't like this guy, I don't want to talk to him. It's more like, for example, you're getting paid, there's like a set price for the project, let's say $1,000, but you you made you did your homework, and you're like, for X amount of hours, this is what I'm going to charge you. They're like, all right, fine. But then once you start, that's when like there's an extra change, an extra this, an extra that. But because it's a big project, you're not gonna if it's a quick turnaround and then they ask like extra stuff, it's easy to just say like, well, we but when it's a bigger kind of figure, you tend to say, all right, I'll just do it, especially if it's a big client and they hire you for big projects. You'll do these little extra things, but then some of them take advantage and then they want changes right away and they're asking for stuff like right now when you're busy with other things, and it becomes this whole thing where it's all about them, and you're kind of a they treat you like you're an employee that they can just kind of push around, and and that's yeah that those are the clients that because the thing is that they take a lot of your time. So if you have other clients and then those other clients are suffering because of that one, and on top of that they're paying you like 3 months late, so you're because it's a big project, it's a lot of money, that's money that you needed that does make a difference if it's not coming in, like all these things put together, you're like, do I really want to get back into that again when they come back with another project? Because if they're not there, then you can spend more time on good clients and build those relationships that are making you way happier and probably taking a lot less of your time for the same amount of money. So it's all these things. So like usually for a client like that, I either say no or I charge way more. So that way, all this extra, because sometimes like it's not just that they want changes, but it's like all these conversations, like they're always calling you, they're always emailing you, they're always like, and that's just a lot of time. Like it's so I charge more, so that way I know that if they do accept the if they don't, then it is what it is, and if they do, well, at least I know it's not going to be fun, but it's going to be worth my time, and probably a little bit more. So that's usually how I approach those, and yeah, the at the end of the day, it's all about valuing your time and making sure that you're not suffering from certain projects, and that your other clients are not suffering either. Because that's the other thing when you're working in an industry like sports videography, a lot of your clients are kind of in the same networks, and they all kind of know each other somehow. So if they see that, for example, like if you have like 4 5 6 clients and you do kind of the same video for all of them, eventually someone's going to notice, and like especially your first client is going to be like, you're doing what you used to be for me for everyone. Now I kind of lost my individuality, and so yeah,
Your
they're not gonna
mojo,
be happy, and they're probably you what sorry.
your mojo. No.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're kind of so they're probably gonna go with someone else that offers them something different. So it's about making sure that each client gets what they ask for, what they deserve, and they're all happy, not just trying to make work for everything that all kind of blends in, looks the same, and they're all kind of suffering from it.
It's funny you talked about like the meetings and changes and that, and how time consuming that is. And that's something that when you're working on bigger projects, you need to include in your bill, because having Zoom meetings for an hour here or there, or constant emails about changes and all that, add that time in when you are, giving them an estimate of how much a project's going to cost. And one of the things I always do, well, two things that I always do is when I send a video, I expect an answer within 24 hours from them, because a lot of clients will email you and they want an answer right away. But when you email them, they don't answer. So I have a 24-hour rule, and I tell them the same thing. Like, listen, I'll export you your thing. I'm working with other clients right now. I will get back to you within 24 hours. I usually get back right away. It's not a problem. But sometimes for them, it is hard for them to get back to me in 24 hours. And especially when you're making revisions and you kind of want to seal up the project near the end, there's nothing worse than them circling back a week later and be like, oh, can you change this graphic? Oh, can you change this? Because it's once you get to the final stages, it's usually something very minor that needs to be updated. Like they want to change text, or they want to change a lower third or something like that. But please get back to me right away. And that's a non-negotiable. 24 hours maximum to get back to me. Minimum, sorry, to get back to me. You know.
Yeah,
And
no,
the,
it's
the other
fine.
thing, the other thing too is payment. Like I'm very uh, straightforward with payment when I expect it. And I also include revisions. So like I'll be like, this quote includes two revisions. After that, every revision is X amount, depending on the size of the project. And you let them know that. And when I send my second revision, in the email, I write, by the way, this is the final revision included in the quote. Everything else will be an additional charge. And yes, it feels awkward writing that, especially when you have a relationship with people and that. But you need to write these things to protect yourself because you will get taken advantage of. And there was times where I did not do this. And then you're looking at 12 different revisions sometimes because the revision isn't always on one video. Sometimes you're exporting 4 or 5 videos for somebody, but it's a little change here, a little change there, a little change. Yeah, it adds up. It adds up. So you have to make sure that you include all this in your pricing. And it has in the past made me say no to reworking with clients because of the way that they handle these situations.
Yeah. Oh no, same. Yeah, I can think of a couple of clients right now that I used to hate working with, but at the same time, sometimes you hate it in the beginning, but once you figure people out, you know what they like, you know what they expect, it becomes a lot easier, and then that relationship doesn't bug you anymore, and it's smooth sailing from then on. But it might take like a few months to get to that point, depending on how difficult the person is to begin with. But to be honest, I kind of prefer like people who typically people don't want to work with, like who are difficult and kind of can be nasty, can be kind of you know confronting sometimes, are for me kind of the people that I prefer to work with. I'd rather have someone who knows what they want and are a bit can be a bit of a dick about it, but at least they know what they want, than working for someone who doesn't know what they want. And it's like that's when all the revisions and all the changes and all that stuff, because it's like, they throw something in the air and then you go and do it, and then they're like, oh yeah, that's not exactly what I thought it would be, and then it just never ends. Where someone that's kind of more like, let's do this, let's do it that way, like if they're not a nice person, I don't really care, as long as they're straight to the point, and I can, once I figure out what they like, I can do it the way they like, and things move fast.
Well, even with that, my 24-hour rule, sometimes I'm the problem. It's not always the client. Sometimes you work hard on something and they give you these changes and you're frustrated. And then you kind of just walk away from the project a bit and back up. And you look at the changes and you're like, oh, actually, okay, I understand why they want that. Or that's when you jump on that quick Zoom call that you've already included in your pricing and you walk through the changes with them. And then you kind of understand their point of view and why they want it changed that way. Because things get lost in context. When you get an email with changes sometimes, as a video editor, not so much now, but when I was younger, I was like, oh, I don't want to change this. I'm going to fight this. I'm going to try and get it my way. And now I'm like, okay, why do you want this change? Okay, I understand why we need to change it or why you feel you want to add this. No problem. So a lot of the things that can be avoided is attitude towards the changes too. So kind of just, let it be. Think like, how is this going to make the video better? How is it going to make my client happy? Those things really help too. Now, since we are, in January still in the beginning of a new year, right? What are your goals working with clients this year? Like, obviously, we want to work with high quality clients. And today's topic is not to be so busy that we're overwhelmed with that. But what are your kind of goals to kind of avoid taking, say lower quality projects or too many projects and kind of, really focus on the better projects?
Yeah, well, I'm not in the position where I have a lot of clients, to be honest. Like,
Well, you have your
more
YouTube channel,
on
so
YouTube. So yes, but
you are
I
your own
do.
client, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say like but I do want to take on clients. So it's my approach is kind of the opposite of what we've been talking about until now, because I could probably take on more clients, but but I do want quality ones. Like, I don't want clients that are gonna take over my time. So I'd like to pick clients that are in my industry, that I can potentially like shoot stuff that I can also use in my YouTube videos, and also because that way, like, money doesn't become an issue as much when it's something that I can use for my own stuff. You know what I mean? So it's either one or the other. Either it's all about, well, not all about, but it's either it's about the money, or it's about convenience and the fact that it helps me for my videos. So I'd like to find, I guess, both. But if I got to choose, I prefer to go towards a client that is, a professional sports team or league that allows me to use the content. And yeah, I'd like to find clients that are a bit more like what you do, which is like a, if not a retainer, some type of relationship that of convenience where they hire me, on a consistent kind of basis. So that's my goal.
So that's what I really focused on. The last part of 2025 that led into 2026 is, so this year I set up where I have 4 retainer deals signed throughout the whole year of 2026. So now it's like a full-time job, but it's not a full-time job. You know what I mean? Like, I give them their shoot dates, we plan their content, we plan their content calendars, we know what's going on, everything's all planned ahead of time. Travel, all that stuff's all planned. So now I can work my year out where I'm not chasing. I know I'm filming high quality stuff and I'm producing better work because I have that planned. I do still do some rush projects and have some other clients come in here who need some stuff filmed, but it gives me that freedom to not be worrying about money, to make sure I'm putting out high quality videos, and to make sure I build a relationship with those clients that helps me grow also, and then hopefully one day expand. Where it's either hire another editor, hire another shooter, get a workspace. That's kind of really the goal. And it's what I really focused on last year is how to build this up, because I was doing retainer deals, but I was doing shorter retainer deals. Like the longest one I did last year was a 6-month retainer deal, which was for the first half of the year. And I learned a lot from that. I learned that if I'm going to sign people like I just did to a full year, well, I have to really like those people. I have to want to work with them all year round, because I did do some retainer deals with clients for 3 months, 2 months, 6 months. And some of them, it didn't go as smoothly as I thought. And it wasn't didn't go smoothly because we didn't get along or things like that. It was people's time. And I realized in the corporate setting that planning a shoot date requires a lot of work, because you have to make sure that nobody who's available, you have to give them time slots, you have to be organized, who's not in a Teams meeting or out of the office that day that you need for that video. And that was really, really the hard part is getting them on board. But now with these longer deals, we know what we want to film every month. We know what we want to capture throughout the year. So working with their team, I'm part of the team now, because they know me, they know I'm going to be around all year. So I'm not stressed to get everything crammed in on that one shoot day. Yes, would I still like to do it on one shoot day? 100%, 100%. But since they're paying me for the full year now, I'm more flexible. I don't mind doing a little bit extra, even though, like, compared to my day rate to the retainer rate, they're getting a really good deal. But it's a deal for me too, because I'm not chasing. And for me, that not chasing was way more valuable, because chasing is the worst part about owning your own business and being a videographer. So that's what I really focus on this year, is not chasing and getting clients that I enjoy working with and getting some longevity with those clients. Because guess what? Like, say 8 months into the contract, I'm already going to start talking about next year. What do you guys want to do? And plan them and lock them in again, hopefully, if it's going well. And if it's not going well after the year, I can always, we can always finish the contract and move on.
Yeah. That's yeah. That sounds like the best case scenario for a freelance videographer. Does it always work out? Is the question.
No, it doesn't always work out. It doesn't always work out. You know what? I felt really bad. I had a client last year that we did a big retainer deal. We did a whole bunch of great videos and they were so happy with them. There was some back and forth and whatever, but then they reshifted their whole organization. So guess what? All the people that we filmed, most of them don't work there anymore. But our deal was up. So I was nice. I reached out. I said, guys, listen, I'll come back in. I'll give you a free day. We'll redo what we want, because Katie's no more there and this person's no more there. I'll come in. Like, I want them to be happy. And they were like, no, we're not ready. We're not, we don't know what's happening. We don't know who's going where. And I felt like I failed. I did the work I was hired to do. I did all the projects I did. I met all my deadlines. But having all those videos done and never being released, I felt like a failure. I felt like, is there something else I could do? So I did leave the door open for free edits, a free shoot when they're ready, because I want them to be happy. Because there's nothing worse than working for a client and them not being happy, at least in my eyes.
Hmm. So what's
Yeah.
next for someone who's like for example, someone who's never done a retainer deal? Like, what's the first step to get to that point?
So I think the first thing you got to do is maybe start with a small content package. Where it's like, hey, we could do a half day shoot and get 5 reels out of it, and kind of see if that's something that you enjoy doing or like to do. And in sports, you could do the same thing. We do it all the time at the Canadians. If you watch Jumbotron, they have these player profile videos. They have players interacting with each other. Those are all things that are all shot in one day. And those are things you can easily do with any sports team. What's you can ask a bunch of guys, hey, what's your favorite color, or what's your favorite retro jersey, let's say, for example. And you can do them one by one, or you can do more in-depth videos with one person and kind of get their story, their backstory, all that. And that, half day filming, 1 day edit, 2 days edit, boom, there's your mini content package. The price won't be too high, and it kind of gives you the experience to know if this is if you can handle it, because it is pressure to come in and film all these athletes, do all this stuff in 1 day, and then edit after.
I was gonna say as well, for like people are starting out. Let's say you're filming like at football games or basketball games, and you're just like producing clips for social media for an athlete, and that's kind of your bread and butter at the moment. There's way, like, because you're obviously thinking, I don't really have clients. I've got guys I know that pay me a bit of money to film them, and so like, how do I, that? But I think that even at that level, there's a way to be smart about it. Because like, if let's say you have like 5 different people that are willing to pay you to go film their games and then provide them with like 10 clips after the game or something, that's a lot of games that you have to film. It's a lot of different content that you have to go through. It's a lot of time. But if those 5 guys are playing in the same game, then it's different. You just saved like a few hours for sure. So if you have like a player that you're filming that is hiring you like consistently, like in maybe not every game, but every once in a while, look at the obvious thing to do, which is, I'm sure people in that position would have done already, is like look around for other players. And usually these things happen organically because they see their teammates' videos and they're like, oh, how much did that cost? And then that conversation starts without you even, starting it. But the idea is also, you can look at the calendar and approach teams that are coming to play that team. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can work on both sides, like, especially if it's a sport like football, for example. And it's usually the guys on offense that want some shine. So you can film both simultaneously and not miss out on anything. And a great place to even go beyond that is tournaments, because like, if you're at a tournament, then you can approach all the different teams the similar way that you did your thing when we went to that conference. Like, who's going to be there, so you approach everyone, and then you basically, some people are going to bite, and that's going to be it. But like, yeah, at a tournament, there's so many teams that are going to be spending the weekend at that place. You can approach all of them, and some of them are going to get back to you, and you can go from there. And it's not only the teams, but it can be the league or the tournament, promoter or organizer. I'm not too sure what they're called. And it can be sponsors as well. So like, there's many ways to go about like maximizing one event or one location or one team. You know what I mean? So it's just, so instead of like, when we're talking about like working smarter, not harder, it's like, don't spread yourself around and filming like all these events where you're driving all over your state, the entire weekend, just film all of these different games. Try to maximize what's happening, close to you, or at least at a team that you're already filming because your son's in it is on that team or something. Like, just start there and try to maximize that environment, and then you can potentially move on if there's not enough work there.
Well, exactly what you described is what pro teams do, right? When you have a media day, that's exactly what it is. It's one event where you get a lot of content. So whether it's a tournament like you just said or like a media day, that's when you do it. And teams do this monthly. There are things that come up that they don't always, you know, didn't always film on media day. So it's perfect to pitch two teams. Now I have a question for you, E. Now, people have this breakthrough where you're a freelancer and you're filming whatever, and then all of a sudden one day you kind of change and it's like, I have a company now, and you kind of accept ownership of that company, right? Now for you, you have YouTube. How do you kind of approach that, and do you think that's a good second income for some sports videographers? And that is to have a YouTube page to show their stuff. Like, I know you cannot monetize on YouTube right away, right? But when you're on YouTube and you see like Maddie Hapoya or whoever, and they're like, oh, why 2026 is the best year to start your YouTube channel. And you're like, yo, like, you worked your ass off to get to where you are on YouTube, and you're still trying to grow and you're still always working on that. So how did you kind of accept ownership of that channel, and what's your advice to people who want to start getting out there on YouTube?
Oh, I think, like, most likely being on YouTube, just like being on Instagram, like, it's going to be more about promoting your services than making money on YouTube. And even for me, like my services have changed. It's not like it's not my sports videography skills anymore. My services are what I sell on my website, for example. But yeah, YouTube is not the place where just by making YouTube videos, you're going to be making enough money to say, like, oh, wow, this is my full-time job now. Like, it could be, but it's going to take millions of views. Like, most likely what a lot of people do, whether it's in our industry or, plumbers, whatever, is that they use their visibility on YouTube to build their authority, and also their network, and get kind of warm leads, I should say, that people like, kind of, they trust them, they see how they work, they like what they do, they like all the advice that they give them. So when they need to hire someone or buy something that relates to this thing, that they're going to buy it from that person. So that's kind of how you make a, a, a serious kind of income from being a YouTuber these days, unless you're like you've got like 1 million followers, and then it becomes a different story. But if you're at my level, that's usually, I see it more as a marketing tool than an income per se. But then you have to have something behind it that you're promoting, and you're actually making money off. So whether it's showing how good you are in sports videography, so therefore I would do similar to what I do, but I would do it in a way that is much more local, in a way, like showing myself at local venues, working with local teams, and that way kind of getting hired by people not too far from where I live. If that's the goal, is to get more clients, like, I would try to promote the fact that this is where I live, this is what I do, these are the services that I provide, these are the teams that I work with, sort of thing. But you can also do things online like I do, whether it's create your own, LUTs, or just do some consultation, help people get better at what they do. Because a lot of people, they watch my videos, but it's 6, 7, 8 minutes of information here or there, and then a week later you kind of forgot about it. So having a one-on-one session where we're actually having a conversation, they retain a lot more information, and they learn. It's a lot easier to learn that way. Because let's face it, like, every time someone sells you an online course on YouTube, if you were to go through their entire YouTube library, all the information in the online course is already there. It's just, do you really want to watch every single video, and every conversation, that, like, all the stuff that doesn't relate, just for those little pieces of information in each video? Or do you want it just all concentrated and properly curated in one place, one thing that's costing you a little bit of money. Usually people are going to go for the second option if they really want to learn. So it's one of those things where, yeah, YouTube is a great place to put yourself out there and promote whatever you're selling, for whatever you're doing, but you have to have like, yeah, that's some type of model that's prepared for it to make sense. You can't just say, oh, I'm going to go to YouTube and make videos. Like it's you're going to be making a lot of videos with nothing in return, and you're going to quit because you're going to feel that it's a lot of extra work for no return, basically.
Yeah, because they make it sound pretty easy on YouTube. Like this is the year 2026 to make your stuff. But what you're doing with your individual sessions is you're teaching people from the mistakes that you've made and the experience that you've learned. So they are saving a lot of time that way because you're bringing in like you and I now we have 20 plus years experience in this industry. And we've grown with the industry from HDV cams to mirrorless cameras, all that stuff. We've made the mistakes for you. So that's why it does help and it speeds up your learning when you do work with people who are more advanced than you or have more experience than you.
So that's why, like, if you're on YouTube and if you feel like you can go on YouTube and help people, that's usually sort of the first, the first place to start, to come from a helping a helping place. But yeah, I think it's anybody can go on YouTube in 2026 and make something out of it, but you got to understand what you're getting into. Like, it's not if you're just going there to make videos and you think that everything else is going to take care of itself, it's not how it works.
No. And today's show is about saying no in 2026, right?
Yeah, that's true.
That's what today's show is about. So, before we wrap up, I want to go through a couple things. What are things that you would say no to, or red flags that you kind of see with potential clients that might kind of, suck your energy or your time, and you're like, this might not be worth it. So you meet somebody, they have a project. What are kind of like red flags that you see right away? Obviously, the main one is low budget.
Yeah.
No,
Low
like
budget,
that.
high expectations is
Yeah.
definitely a red flag.
I find
And
misaligned expectations. It's not so much high. It's like you have, because even us as videographers, we have expectations when we're going to work with a client of what we
yeah,
think we can get out of it. And sometimes they tell us something, we're like, oh no, that's not me at all.
yeah, and and for example, if they just want to pay for like a half day shoot because that's what they can afford, but then they send you a brief of what's going to happen during that half day shoot, and you're like, yeah, that's not going to work. Like, they have something happening every 5 minutes. It's like you need to set up these shots and things like that. Look, so it's not, your schedule is never going to work. Like, it's just way too much stuff crammed into 4 hours. It's not going to happen. Believe me, it's going to be a fiasco. So it's like, if they trust you and they work with you accordingly, then fine. But if they're trying to fight you on that, then you know that that's definitely a red flag. Otherwise, I don't know. I'd say like probably a client that gets super excited about working with you, asks you for a quote, and then disappears for like 2 weeks, and then like you chase them, they never get back to you, and then like 2 months later they're like, oh yeah, let's pick up the conversation, where we're like, it's like, okay, if you're like this now, it's just gonna get worse. Like, it's not this wasn't a one-off.
Yeah. I find too some clients in the negotiation. So like they'll tell me what they want to do and then I'll pitch them a price and they'll come back and be like, oh, I want it for this and that. And be like, well, no, that's the price because it takes this much time. Like there are some stuff that you can be flexible on.
Mhm.
But usually when I give a price, I'm pretty fair. I'm not trying to gouge you. I'm not doing it to make, like, not everything is about making money. It's about, the experience and meeting people in the middle too. So that I find is hard because even when you give your price, it's not a flex. I'm not trying to like, I'm worth this much. No, this is how much time it takes. And this is the value we get out of this project. Like if I make you a 30-second reel, let's say, and you get 1 million views, well, that reel is worth a lot more than just my time that I'm editing it and filming it,
Mhm.
So you have to kind of gauge this stuff too. And those sometimes are red flags too. What about better clients?
Better clients? What do you
Like,
mean?
yeah. So like we vetted the bad ones, right? What are the benefits of having better clients? Like there's definitely a lot less stress.
Oh yeah.
More
Well, to
trust?
me, yeah. Well, define what's like to me a better
Well,
client
for
is a
you, like
client that
when you
pays
work
on
with a
time.
client that you're happy with. No, but
Yeah.
yeah, who pays them. But like
Well,
there's clients that I don't make tons of money off of that, but I really enjoy working with them because it's cool projects. They're great people. I'm really happy with the outcome. Um, like these are all things that are
yeah,
important.
that's exactly
I
where I was going. Yeah.
like
It's a
creative, being
good
creative.
people. They're fun to work with. You're having fun because you probably like the sport or the project that you're working on, and they're easy to work with as well. Like the approval process, not and easy doesn't mean that they say yes to everything you do, but like just the conversations are much easier to have than with other people. Then yeah, it's all about the vibe and the connections and the way they like when people pay you on time, it's not just, "Oh, I need the money, I need the money." It's about respect. Like, I just spent hours and hours and hours on this thing. Don't take like 3 months to pay me. Like, it's disrespectful. It's making me feel like you don't value what I do. So it's more what it's about. So it's about like, yeah, those connections and knowing that people like value your work and respect you, basically.
Yeah, because no one ever gets mad for being paid on time.
Definitely not.
you know, um, a couple things that I've learned of what success isn't. Is success isn't always filming. It's not always editing. It's not always trying to position myself. For me, the success is like sustainability, being creative, being happy with the final project, and having a client happy or giving back in some way really feels good. It feels good, and you want to feel good after you've delivered a video. You don't want to feel like angry, frustrated, like here's your video, take it, go. You want to feel proud of that. You want to be able to share it, and you want to tell people like, oh, I helped make this. Because not every video you do, you have 100% creative control over it. Whether sometimes they get hired and they already have an idea or they already have talent or scripts or whatever, that's fine. Sometimes I get to do it all. Sometimes I don't. But be proud of the projects you're in. And I think if you're not proud of the projects you're in, that's the number one thing that, you have to say no to, because then you're just doing it for money. You're just delivering a video. I'm not trying to deliver a video. I'm trying to deliver a service. I'm trying to deliver value. And that's where the mind shift changes. And that's where you learn to say yes and you learn to say no.
Amen.
Amen. That's it. Just like that.
Yeah, I was waiting for the rhyme, but other than that, it was perfect.
Listen, everything isn't urgent, okay? I don't rhyme, but not everything is urgent, and just plan and try and be intentional with the work you say yes to and how you'll move forward with it.
Yeah.
All right. No
Don't
rhymes
worry,
today. I'm
be
sorry.
happy.
That's it. All right. Well, that's it for this episode of Game Day Glare. Take care, guys.